Talking a bit about smart funds, I'm giving just a bit of context because this conference is this interesting part of being really worldwide. So I have to just give from everyone outside Europe a bit of context. So the European Union has this concept of having a distribution of money from all the state members that's collected globally to promote convergence in some aspects that are considered important for the convergence of their members. So, and basically, so that you have some numbers and to the importance of these programs. And once again, I'll talk about the Portuguese reality and then extrapolate to the European one. But so just so you have an understanding, in the next 3 or 4 years, the European Union will place more than 4 billion euros in these funds to help companies, helping them on the climatic transition, resiliency, digital transition, and so on. If we make a very simple arithmetic process, since we have 27 countries in the European Union, we are talking about 1.5 trillion. Naturally, this is much more than that because Portugal is one of the smallest countries in the European Union. But what I mean by this, more than the precision of the numbers, is that this is actually something that actually moves a lot of money, and not only, and to be honest, it's not just the importance of the amount of money itself, but also the importance it has to the innovation and to the support of companies and SMEs in all the European context. So, and given this, and talking about a bit about the challenge and why we decided to work on this. So how do these processes work? So basically, each state of the European Union, as through their government and through a number of institutions, publishes a number of notices, each of them with their own structure and each of them with their own lengths. Some notices explaining the criteria, the context, who they target, what are the criteria, and so on, in several platforms, in several types of document. We even found some documents that are written. So when I mean written, like handwritten. So, and we are talking about a massive industry. So, and the problem is that there are no notifications. There are no way of knowing when a notice is launched. And we saw this huge opportunity, not only for banks that support part of these programs, because, and once again, sorry for giving such context, but I really think it will be important for the rest of the presentation. But even if these programs would represent 100 billion, these are not enough to sponsor all the projects. So there is a significant amount, around 3 times more, that are sponsored by the companies or by the banks. So this means that there's a lot more money from the economy that is driven indirectly by these funds. So companies and banks spend a huge time and effort with very little value added, just going through these platforms day by day, just to see if there's a new notice, if there was a change in the notice, if there was an update, trying to understand and decipher what these notices mean. Now, multiply this for every bank in Portugal, for every company in Portugal, for every country in the European Union, when more or less the structure should be the same across all of them. So this is the question we saw, and we tried to address it. And that's why we decided to use generative AI to answer this question. So what was the main problem? There was fragmented data, as I was saying, several platforms, several types of documents, unstructured data. There were PDFs, XMLs, Excels, Words. There was not a template, not even a chapter structure that was common through each of these notices. We talked with almost every bank in Portugal. We interviewed a lot of companies. We talked with our Hungarian and Italian colleagues. By the way, this project also has something that really thrills me, which is something that is in the core of Deloitte actually almost all the functions except audit naturally are involved in the development of these assets. And we identified that this was very, very manual intensive. So we identified this opportunity to automate this process and to allow to create a way to not only automate the collection of the data, to aggregate the data in one single place, to structure this information. So making sure that, as we were saying in the retail match presentation, that we were matching apples with apples. So making sure that different concepts in several platforms, several notices were comparable, and reducing or even eliminating all the manual effort in this process. So what are the core features of our solution? And I leave all the technical details and all the technical parts to Danielle, because it's much more capable of showing that part, and also talking about the use cases. So with this platform, what we managed to do, and this was actually very an investment from our part. It was not developed in a project context. We really thought, okay, this is something that the market needs. So we developed it, and it had a huge adhesion from the market. But it was something that we decided to invest on our own. So now there's all the notices in Portugal, some of them in Italy, because that part's still in development, are all aggregated in one single cloud-based platform. So all of them, basically, so that you have an idea, a process that was taking 6 days manually now takes 12 minutes. All the reading and data structure is completely automatic. We are using NLP models and LLMs to go through all the PDFs, extract all the information and categorize the information, and just be sure that the words are different. So in some places I have capital, in other places I have money, in some places I have expiry date, in other words I have less date to submit. So we had to create a structure that not only reads but understand what it's reading, and this allowed us to create something that our clients did have, which was lead generation. So now that I have a structured database and I have a client database, I can match these two. So basically I can say, let's imagine I'm bank A, or I am a HSBC or some bank. I can look at my client database and I immediately can say, okay, the client A, B, and D, they can apply to this notice. I don't have to wait for the clients to step in. I can proactively contact them and say, look, you can apply to this. It's free money. So it's better for the bank, it's better for the client, it's better for the European Union. So basically we eliminated completely this no value time that was required to match the notices. And created the criteria, and stepping to the final step, which was we also created a machine learning model that allows, based on the historical data we have, to immediately understand the probability. And in full transparency, we are still working on this part to fine tune it, to understand what was the likelihood of a certain project being accepted for a certain notice. So because if I have information about were the projects accepted in the past, and I have the structured data, then I can know what is the likelihood that this project will be successful. And finally, this creates a lot of other use cases like personalized communication and so on. But once again, so now I think I'm finished. I'm moving to Danielle. Danielle, you can take it from here.
Thanks, Andre. Thanks, Andre, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'll try to talk a little bit about the details and how we build this technical solution. So we designed this having in mind like 4 main big building blocks for the solution, as Andre has been also describing until now. So the web scraper, an NLP algorithm which was customly developed for this purpose, a large language model, and a dashboard. So the web scraper is really responsible to go through all those websites that contain a lot of information related with funds. So we are scraping all that data. We do it daily. We get all the pages, all the associated PDFs that have, in fact, it's the PDFs and the images that contain the relevant information from the funds. We have to do this on a daily basis because New funds are being released every day, and sometimes even older funds are being updated with new information. So this web scraper does exactly that. It goes to the website, it gets all the details, and then stores all the information completely raw on a database. Then what we do second is we get all that data, we pass it through our NLP algorithm. And most of the data that we pass and use through our NLP algorithm is really the PDF data that, like, it's hundreds of pages, completely unstructured, as Andrea was mentioning before. So we use it to extract specific indicators and try to categorize each of the funds. So the problem is with this NLP algorithm. So it was really nice and it was very well implemented, but it was lacking the detection of some scenarios. And that's where we use here large language models, so the generative AI solutions, to really support us on the identification of more complex criteria. So to give it a clear example, the eligibility criteria of a specific fund. So Andrea talked about a lot about it. So there's a lot of conditions. All of that is basically described on plain text, no structure. There is no ticks, no checkboxes, nothing for us to really identify and extract sense and meaning from what's the eligibility of a fund. So who can apply to the fund? How can it apply? What's the region where that fund is applicable? So that's where these large language models, generative AI, they can do a lot of these work for us, like for free. Let's put it in these terms, because we give it the text, we give it the information that we want to parse, we give it the information that we want to extract, we give it some rules, and then we extract all the information already in a format that it's somehow more aligned to what we want to consume later. So the combination of these two, so the NLP algorithms from an efficiency perspective, we start with this, we try to extract the data, all the important KPIs, categorize the funds, and then we enhance this with our large language models to refine some of the information. Then last step, of course, is to show all of these on a dashboard, and I'll share some screens of it, of the dashboards, where all the information is going to be pretty much visual for the funds that we are extracting, which funds are new, and also it will allow us to track some of these leads that may have been generated along the way. So in terms of technology stack, this was designed to be run on the cloud. So cloud first, all Docker container, orchestrated with Airflow, and most of the code is done in Python. So and for the front end, we did this with React technology for the dashboard. So the solution really works. It's pretty simple from a conceptual perspective. So we get the sources, websites, PDFs with hundreds of pages I was describing before. We get all that data, and regardless of the language, regardless of the country where we are reading funds or information from, we get all of this and send it through our Smart Funds AI engine. And this is the combination of those two models, so the NLP plus the large language model. We get this data, we send it through our engine, and we present all that information on the dashboard, because now we have all the categorization of the funds in a structured way that's easily done to present this information in the dashboard. The beauty of the dashboard is that we now have a unique way and a unique dashboard or front end to really have access to all the funds that were before spread over hundreds of PDFs and in different websites. So this allows us now to quickly filter from the information that we want, identify what were the new funds that were added since last time we visited, since last time we wanted to check, which is something that right now, let's say, it's very manual intensive, and not to say quite much impossible to do, because you have to track changes on the PDFs. You have to understand which ones were new, which one were not. So this allows us to quickly see exactly what's changing from one day to the other. Also, we can create specific alerts based on different areas of interest or categories of funds that we are trying to track. This is especially important if you are looking for to target a specific client, and we know that there could be new funds being triggered for that category. Also, the dashboard allows us to really track any generated leads, and also communication plans that we have related with that client. So the way as the leads identification work, and trying to go a little bit deep on what Andrea was describing before, is we use two main sources of data. So everything that we are extracting from the PDFs, all that information, all the categorization that we have done, so like the activity sectors, different geography areas, legal requirements, we get all of that because we extracted, we parse it, we use our NLP, we use the large language model, we have all of these in a single database. And we join this information with the client's database. So this client database has the profile of the companies. It has all the details similar to, or it has at least the information that we are extracting also from the funds detail PDF files. So we get all that data, we cross-join it, we send it through our matching model, and at the end of the day, what we'll generate is all these leads. So we are not just saying this client or this company is applicable or not to a specific fund. We are scoring all of these using this matching model. So this way we will know, and we will have a better idea if that company is pretty much highly likely to get a specific funding from a fund and get financing, or if we are going to have a lower score and potentially that's not one of the leads that we want to proceed quickly. Okay, so this will allow us to have, so this matching model is one of the main areas of focus, as Andrea was describing before, because we'll have a consolidated view and we can even then integrate all of these with the different banks' internal systems, because we also share an API solution for them to really interact and embed these within their CRM solutions. So at the end of the day, and really to summarize, smart funds, our objective is to have it scalable, a one-stop shop solution to really manage everything that's related with the end-to-end journey of public funds. And thank you so much.